Jerry has been with Toastmasters for some time now and is currently our area governor. His awards are an AC Gold and AL Bronze. His speeches always give us food for thought. Please help me welcome Jerry Dixon. The title of his speech is Trials That Made Jury History. Jerry Dixon.
It's common knowledge that there are three branches to the U.S. government. There's the executive, which is the president. There's the legislative, which is Congress. And there's the judicial, which is the Supreme Court. But there's actually a fourth quasi-branch of the government that has more power than the other three combined. It's called the jury. In a criminal case, when a jury comes back with a not guilty verdict, it doesn't matter what the president thinks, it doesn't matter what Congress thinks, it doesn't matter what the Supreme Court thinks. The jury's decision is final. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, tonight I'm going to tell you about three trials that made jury history. The first is that of William Penn. He's a man for whom Pennsylvania was named. But this took place in 1670 in England. England had passed a law declaring Anglican as the official church of England. And the law made it illegal to preach any religion other than Anglican. But William Penn was a Quaker minister. He ignored the law and he continued preaching in his church. And one day, the authorities came in, chased everybody out of the church, boarded up the doors, and then he didn't just give up. He started going and preaching in the streets. That got him arrested. At his trial, the jury obviously felt that a man should be able to preach whatever religion he wants to, so they found him not guilty. That made the judge furious. The judge told the jury, you go back into that room, you're not getting any food, you're not getting any water until you come back with a guilty verdict. The jury refused to do it. So then the judge has every member of the jury arrested and fined for violating a court order. 4 of the jurors refused to pay the fine and they went to prison. But their verdict still stood. Case number 2. In 1733, John Zinger was the publisher of the New York Weekly Journal. He published a series of articles harshly criticizing the governor of New York and the whole Congress of being involved in corruption. So he was arrested. He was charged with seditious libel with intent to create contempt for the government. And that law said that it doesn't matter if the accusations are true, just making the accusations is illegal. And at his trial, the defense proved that his accusations in these stories were true. But the judge tells the jury the truth is not a defense and that he recommends a guilty verdict. Well, guess what? The jury did not agree. And they came back with a not guilty verdict. So the man went free. So obviously the jury felt that this law is just not right for America. Case number 3. Some of you may remember this one. In 1984, Bernard Goetz was in the New York subway. 4 men came up to him and tried to mug him. They demanded his money. Puts his hand in his pocket. Instead of pulling out his wallet, he pulls out his gun. Shoots all 4 of them. Bang, 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 bang. Doesn't kill any of them, but they're all seriously wounded. So then he takes off running. Then just a couple of days later, when he hears on the radio that there's a warrant out for his arrest, he turns himself into the police. He was charged with attempted murder, assault, reckless endangerment, and several firearm violations. And at this time in New York, there was a lot of frustration as to the high crime rates. And there was a rally of people who were supporting him for being a man willing to stand up to the criminals. And at his trial, the jury acquitted him of all charges except illegal possession of a handgun. So the jury obviously had compassion for this man who was really just defending himself and a man willing to stand up to the criminals. But they didn't want to send a message that now it's okay to bring guns to the subway. So they at least found him guilty of illegal possession of a handgun, for which he served no additional time. When a jury finds someone not guilty based on their disagreement with the law, it's called jury nullification. Jury nullification has been used numerous times in the history of America. It was used in the 1692 Salem witch trials. It was used with the 1794 Whiskey Rebellion tax protesters. Jury nullification was used in the 1850 Fugitive Slave Act. It was used in the 1920s for the alcohol prohibition trials. It was used in the 1960s for the Vietnam War objector trials. And since the year 2000, jury nullification has been used in medical marijuana cases, some other drug cases, 3 strikes cases, and mandatory minimum cases, for example. All because the jury disagreed with the law. And in a strange turn of events, judges use jury nullification in their own courtroom every day. Juries have the power to judge not only the defendant, but the law. Particularly if they think the law doesn't fit in this particular case. When you're on a jury, no one can make you change your verdict, guilty or not guilty. And you don't have to say why you're voting guilty or not guilty. And it only takes one person on that jury to prevent a guilty verdict. But judges don't like that. Judges want the jury to simply decide whether the defendant broke the law or not. Judges don't like juries making law, as they say. So if you're on a jury selection, the judge will tell you, you do not have the right to judge the law. Your job is simply there to determine whether the defendant broke the law or not. Which is kind of like jury tampering. And it's the judge's way of using jury nullification. Now let me end by saying this. If you have a chance to be on a jury, this is one of the few times in life when you have an opportunity to do something really important. So rather than trying to see if you can get out of it, try to see what you can get out of it. Thank you for listening.